Good morning. This is a historical day because before you is the All Stevens service that has never happened before in our 132 years of existence. So stay with us. I'm, of course, Stephen Melch, and my pronouns are he and him, and we want to welcome you to the First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the internal and external, why not, nurture community and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and your wholeness and wellness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. A special welcome to you if you are new to the church. And today's service is a part of a special series of summer services where members of our church congregation design and lead the services. And you'll see a variety of topics and people during these summer services, which is only going to be one more. We have a visiting reverend coming next week, and then our full-time minister, Dr. Kent Doss, who's here with us at this very moment in time. Will take over. We're happy to keep you informed about the First Unitarian Church. If you're here in person, you can find a card in the back. It has a picture of the church. We're going to try to get these maybe in the pews in time so you can just put them into the collection plate, but they are in the back now, or if anyone wants one, and this will help us give you, so you can receive our email newsletter, and if anyone wants one, Larry is our hander-outer. Anyone wants one? To get, no, okay. You're missing your chance. We're happy to have all our friends, new and old, who are watching us on YouTube this morning. Please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you are joining us from. There is one announcement. Some of you have gotten another card with your program, and this is announcing our art exhibit starting next week. So take one of these cards with you, either through the doors or in back, and then our speaker there'll be a reception on August 3rd. So welcome again to First Unitarian, and now the prelude prepares us for worship. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen, and thank you, Becky Talent, for coming up with our witty music for today, because the theme is about togetherness, about why it is that we gather, why it is that we have this faith together. That's the theme, and it's also to be noisy today. So there are times when you folks speak. The whole idea here today is about togetherness. One of the things that folks say is, well, I'd love to come to church, but that means burning more hydrocarbons. And so I said, okay, we'll have the lights off here. We'll just use natural sunlight, and we'll kind of counteract that. So really what we're working towards today is a sense of togetherness, and why to come together at one particular place and building all together. So that's the theme for today. As other Stephen mentioned, today is the conclusion of our summer services that are done by other congregational members.
No Stephanie here, no.
No, now wait a minute, the IRS said politics is just fine now in churches. But that's not where I'm going. And so for folks who are new to the church, today is experimental. And for everybody, let us know afterwards how things felt. And to get your feedback, because it's our birthdays, there's cake. So I do want to salute all the other congregational members who did these services over the summer. And that's traditional here in this church, because we have members of a wide variety of viewpoints, and some with some much better acting skills than I do. So I want to say I'll follow in their footsteps, but I will stumble repeatedly during this hour. Again, that's why there's cake. As Stephen mentioned, it's both of our birthdays. Do not ask ages. I'll just say that if we put the right number of candles on the cake, every fire alarm in the place would go off. And that reminds me to remind you that the Health and Safety Committee would like your attention to the Call 911 cards on the back of the pew. Just a reminder that those exist for the situations that may occur. 911, you can call or text. They, of course, prefer a call. And the key things that we learned putting those together is no one knows the address of this building. And if you call 911 and say, oh, it's the church at 13th and Dewey, well, there's another church right by South 13th and Dewey. So that's why the address, they're giving them the exact address, 600 Northwest 13th, will get them going to the right place. Because the other thing we figured was if you say, it's the Unitarian Church, 911's going to say, how do you spell Unitarian? So just that key message at 600 Northwest 13th. Great. I should introduce myself. My name's Steve Goldman, and for those audio folks, I'm a short, boring, gray, older guy, gray hair, great. Silver fox. Right. Luckily, I got my beard done yesterday, or else Susan was saying I was looking too rabbinical for this job. Pronouns he, him, but I mostly respond to hey, you, as in hey, you old guy, get out of the way. And for today, the theme is about us as a minority religion. That's not news, but it's sort of our shared experience that you probably don't know it, but I grew up Jewish, never guess. And so have that experience of growing up in a minority religion and how we go forward as a minority religion as well. So glad we're all together. Our next step here, as usual, is sharing our welcome. We're talking to each other, but... Oh.
See, you're not following the script, Stephen.
I told you I wasn't very good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so let's do that part.
In my 30 years of attending this wonderful church, I have never lit the chalice before. Another historical point is occurring right before your eyes. So in lighting our chalice, we connect ourselves with many different people. The many Unitarian Universalists across space and time who who have, yes, have lit or have lit the chalice, our spiritual ancestors and their dreams, their good deeds, and even the failings. We light our chalice here in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on the land that was home to first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. No.
It's Stephen's turn. It's his birthday.
My turn. I've never done that, Larry. Thank you.
You never thought there'd be improv theater at 11 a.m.
You're not. So we light this chalice in the land that was home from first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated people. Now, here goes.
We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of our loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope. And our hope to keep hope going in these times, and our hope to live at our ages here. Now it's time for sharing our welcome. And in your programs, there are some discussion starters. So rather than just talking about work or the weather, talk about, as a Unitarian, what have you done so far this year that makes you proud to be a Unitarian? What actions, what things have you done? Please stand up, talk to each other.
Greet each other.
And
Those
then we'll
that
ask you to
know
share.
and those you don't. Larry, I'm sorry I had to call you out. Yes.
So after this, I'll ask for 3 or 4 answers from the group, and then we'll go straight to offertory.
Okay. So we don't have an opening hymn.
No.
We are sharing our thing of love. Okay. So I'll say that.
You read that part.
Yeah. And number 3. Quite a bit. Yeah.
You can read that, and then there's a little spot where I jump in and say, it's healthy to laugh at ourselves, and joyous of giving, and then I'll turn it back to you.
Okay.
for the jokes.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. The Change for Change partner this month is the Oklahoma City Metro Literacy Coalition. And their mission is to improve the quality of life of our community by supporting the advancement of literacy services in the OKC metro area. They will use the money for Tutoring for Tomorrow, a program offering assistance for those children working to achieve grade level reading proficiency. For those who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment we'll be passing the offering plate. And if you're watching online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian and write in the memo line, "Change for Change," or make your payment online through our website, oneuc.org.
Giving is meant to be a joyous time. I've been on the stewardship committee enough to know that's so important. So with giving meant to be a joyous time, I'll ask our fine ushers to go ahead with the plates, and to make sure that everyone's feeling some extra joy, here's Stephen. Please continue with the offertory.
Okay, this is for you sustainable living people. And you know you are a Unitarian when you think the Holy Trinity is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Also, you are a Unitarian if you study the 10 suggestions instead of the 10 commandments. You are a Unitarian if you think the holy day of obligation is your turn to do coffee. And you are a Unitarian if you get email from committees you didn't even know you were on. Have you heard the latest UU miracle? Yes, we have miracles. Someone saw the face of Ralph Waldo Emerson on a tortilla. Why did the Unitarian Universalists cross the road? To support the chicken in its search for its own path. And our sermon on stewardship, that's when you pledge, drive, was titled Sermon on the Amount. A Unitarian is, now this is for those who know that have gone to a Quaker meeting. A Unitarian is just a Quaker with attention deficit disorder. The clergy in other denominations have a hard time figuring us out. One time at an ecumenical service, the Episcopal rector said, "Let us pray. And for you Unitarians, do whatever it is you do." To have many doubts is a crisis of faith. To have a consistent doubts is a conversion to Unitarian Universalists. And the Unitarians don't want salvation, they want closure. Why are UUs the worst singers? Well, we're talking not about our wonderful choir up here, of course, who are going to be rejoining us soon. But we're the worst singers because they are always reading ahead to see if they agree with the next line. And this is for Suzanne Broadbent, this special one. It's about a UU family who moves into a new neighborhood. Their little girl finds a new playmate. One day, the playmate says, "We're Episcopalians." "What are you?" The UU child thinks for a minute and says, "I'm not sure, but I think we are the League of Women Voters." Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. But seriously, folks, on the front of your programs is the new UU logo, branding, belief system. I don't know exactly what to call it. But we're talking history here. You know, I learned that we had 7 principles. Those little red cards in the pew have 10 beliefs, because for a religion, 7 and 10 are good numbers for lists. And now we've got I guess I'm calling it the 6 petals of Unitarianism. Let me know if there's an actual name for this. And in terms of modern religion and today's life, to me, this is that natural change from reliance on written text, from strings of words. We now have images because everybody's got a screen. This is what looks good on a screen and reflects our faith. So a couple suggestions are, if folks like this, is this something we should blow up and hang on the wall? Or is this something we all put on our phones as the lock screen so that others will say, that looks interesting. I can get behind that. You know, go this way, that way. Yeah, what's that all about? And we can tell them about Unitarianism. So that's something new. It also shows that for Unitarianism, to me, you have to keep a lot of things going all at once. You know, this is kind of a juggling act of what we do as Unitarians. It's not about a straight path anywhere. It's about keeping lots of considerations alive all at once. And that's one of the things that makes our faith different than others that say there's this straight path to something, saying we're keeping all kinds of considerations alive at the same time. And with that in mind, from your chat earlier, what are some of the things that you've done this year as a Unitarian? I'll ask folks to shout some things out, and you get extra points if you connect it to any of these topics here. Very much so. Generosity is change for change. Pledging to us as a unit.
Pilgrimage to Concord, Mass.
Yes. Things that you've done out in the world.
I traveled to Minneapolis with due process for all on my back windshield.
Very good.
Attended the No Kings demonstration.
Mm-hmm. And how many of that does this connect with? Other things. Great. So those are the things we do both for the faith that we have within us and the faith that we show in the outer world. In terms of UUs, about how many UUs are there in America? The latest UUA website says 1,000 churches and about 130,000 people, adults. Wow as in big or wow as in small? There's another poll that's done by the nonprofit Pew Foundation that does a big nationwide poll of about 36,000 Americans, adults. And that's notable because a usual nationwide poll is only about 3,000 people. And that's enough when you're just trying to figure out red or blue. But this poll needed to be 30-something thousand because it wanted to get to every religion in the U.S. and get some numbers and some sense of belief in it. So the results of that were really interesting. As you might expect, out of a poll of 36,000 American adults, 29% said they were unaffiliated. They don't have a church or a religion. And that includes 5% atheists, 6% agnostic. 62% were various flavors of Christianity, So that's about 2/3. And that left about 7% for religions other than Christianity. The answers were 2% Jewish, 1% each for Muslim, Buddhist, and the remaining 2% were something else. And so in the survey, they kept asking folks, what's your something else? What is it? And about 1% said Unitarian. So 1% of the US population is almost 2 million people said the word Unitarian in this survey. And so that's very hopeful. It was Unitarian or other liberal religions. One of the other findings was how many folks had changed religions during their lifetime. Let me get a show of hands. And folks, turn around and look at each other here. How many folks grew up Unitarian? Okay. How many folks actively chose to be a Unitarian? And that's one of the big differences, I think, is when somebody actively chooses their religion. Kind of break that down a little bit. How many folks chose Unitarianism and moved from another major religion? Okay. How many folks chose Unitarian from being unaffiliated? Okay. How many folks moved to Unitarianism from being in another minority religion? Cool. So you can see how folks come to Unitarianism and express it. I will admit to being a data person, a numbers person. So having this huge survey of 35,000 Americans that had enough Unitarians in it for the results to break down what it is that Unitarians believe in compared to other religions. The survey asked the same questions of everybody and then gave results based on religion. And one of the differences finding is how people talk about being spiritual, even when they're not religious. That of the unaffiliated with the church people, most said they're spiritual. They're just not religious. For Unitarians, the answer to the question of are you spiritual, well, for comparison purpose, says 90% of evangelicals said they were spiritual. How many you use? Let me think. So for spiritual, the other question was, are you very religious? Do you consider yourself very religious? For example, among evangelicals, 83% said they were very religious. For Unitarians, I think it's... So there's a difference. 26% of Unitarians said they were very religious. Spiritual, 89% of Unitarians said they were spiritual. How about an absolutely certain belief in God? Evangelicals were at 85%. Unitarians for absolutely certain belief in God.
57%.
So about half and half there. But the other question was, without believing in God, is it possible to be a moral person and have good values without believing in God? Evangelicals, 51% said yeah. For Unitarians, 86% said you can be moral and have good values without believing in God. One of the topics that's so hot in this state is the Bible. And we'll talk more about that later. But in terms of the importance of the Bible, 82% of evangelicals said the Bible was very important. For UUs, it's 15%. So in taking a look at our minority religion, and being proud of how we got here, proud of how we put it together. Those are some distinctions versus the other religions that we put in our lives here, and especially here in Oklahoma. One of the purposes of this service today is our connections with each other. And Susan and I and our family traditionally sit up in the balcony. That's just historically our family's place. There's times when we've had 4 generations of our family up there in the balcony. And it's fun to see everybody. And I know for you folks in the pews, there's no good reason to be facing me. So we want to do some things so that you face each other, that you see faces, that you connect that way. Because again, that idea of, why burn hydrocarbons to come here is the people. So we're going to do a couple of things. We've got a responsive reading, because that's what comes from my Jewish tradition, is responsive readings. And then we're going to do a hymn, but don't open those books. Don't open those books. The idea is we're going to ask folks to stand up, look at the center aisle, say words to each other. For the responsive reading, there's just one line that you guys do repeatedly. And then the hymn, we think that 92.3% of you know the words. And if not, we've got plenty of choir members and other strong singers to bring you along. So, I'll ask folks to please stand. I get to do that from up here, right? And turn to the center aisle. Close those books. No noises, no noses in books. There's only one line you folks need to do. We're adapting this responsive reading so that you folks say the same thing after every couple of lines. And what I'll ask you to say to each other, not up here, to say to each other is, I see you, I hear you, we go forward in love. One time together here. I see you, I hear you, we go forward in love. Just like here. So, yes. So from our hymnal is Gloria, and it starts with, from the Latin language for uplifting glory, Gloria, and then from the early Greek language Christianity, asking for mercy from their Lord by saying the words Kyrie eleison. I see you.
I see you. I hear you. In love.
From Jewish prayers, there's the words in the Hebrew language, blessed are you, our Lord, Baruch atah Adonai. From Hinduism, there's the sacred mantra, Om. The word alleluia comes from the Hebrew word hallelujah, praise to the Lord. So alleluia. There's also the Hebrew word for all-encompassing peace, shalom. From Japanese Buddhism, there's a phrase related to one's belief in one's own potential and overcoming obstacles. Nam myoho rangé kyo. And from Hebrew, there's that word for certainty, for agreement, and just sort of like, ain't it true? Amen.
I see you. I hear you.
Remain standing, remain looking at each other, and everybody knows these words. Thank you. For prayer and meditation, I want to turn that to a sense of place. A place that's spiritual. Where is your spiritual place, your spiritual space? That relates to that question earlier about where would you go on a UU pilgrimage? Other religions have these definite places that you go or walks that you do. What would be the UU equivalent of that? Where would you go as a particularly spiritual UU place? Garden? Mexico?
Source of our religion in Pennsylvania.
Great to hear, because I was stuck on Walden Pond as the UU place to go. So in terms of what we do as Unitarians, to go places, to do things, is always crucial in centering ourselves for prayer or meditation or thought, because there's always a lot to think about. We're not the kind of religion where just our own inner sense of good is enough. That it has to do with how you live in the world and how you interact with other folks. So that's a key part of it. And in terms of, this continuing sense of defining ourselves in the larger world, we don't tend to wear symbols of our religion much. There's no religious symbols hanging around our neck, although I do know someone who creates really wonderful necklaces with handmade chalices. We don't tend to get tattoos of Bible verses on us. And there aren't distinctive names that make connections with being a UU. For me, for example, it's the last name Goldman. Is once they know that name, then that sets off the radar, and people ask, well, does that mean you can't go to the movies on Friday with me? Our church is embarking on a marketing campaign to bring more people in, and that's something I've been in favor of for many years. But we start with this idea that our building looks like every other Baptist red brick white column church down the street. So it's been interesting to see the marketing ideas out on the banners in front and in advertisements that we're doing. That sense of keeping your beliefs and joining this community. The other side of the banner says something like liberal and local on this corner since 1923, because people want a religion that's been around for a while and something that's local as well. So please participate in the marketing ideas. Give ideas on how to bring folks to us, because it's just not well known. And our building doesn't have the word Unitarian out front anywhere very big, if folks were just looking at the front door to know what we are. If we're just continuing, the whole theme here is living our lives in a minority religion. But when we're known as UUs, either individually or as a group, what's the reaction of the majority that we live within? When we're out in the open, is it still friendly territory these days? For most of my adult life, which would be 1970 to, say, 2015, there seemed to be a general growing acceptance of minority groups. Social and ethnic minorities, racial types of love or relationships, types of religions, a widening of what was recognized as real and respected. There was always minority religions, but they were pretty much equally protected here in America. The government didn't say whether one was better than another. But these past couple of years, and just these past 6 months, have me deeply worried. I see a power system that revels in creating, quote, others. Who are the folks who are not us? Who are the folks that are not fully protected? Some people somehow not equally protected by the American system. And then there's been this intertwining of religion and politics and the rise of a very specific Christian nationalism. We've had speakers on that topic here before. And what we see here in Oklahoma from the state government is these very specific things from people who hold, secular government posts. The governor declaring every square inch of Oklahoma for Jesus. The state house votes on a resolution that Christ is king in Oklahoma. As I mentioned most recently, the IRS ruled that even the rules that just slightly inhibit religious leaders from saying directly who to vote for, those are gone. And our schools should have a Bible in each classroom and the 10 Commandments on the wall. When I think about that, for the 10 Commandments, I read the actual proposed law, and it's so specific. Here's the only wording of the 10 Commandments that can go on the classroom wall. It needs to be printed at least a 16 by 20 poster, and there can be no other words on the poster. Because I thought, it might be okay if we added at the bottom of the 10 Commandments, hey kids, this applies to your principal and your parents and your politicians. That might be the good lesson there. And then when it comes to the Bible, we saw in the stats, Unitarians tend not to be big on the Bible. But in the classroom, having just one hardcover Bible on the shelf is not going to be shared well, given the huge class sizes here in Oklahoma. And kids would rather read it on their tablets, where it comes for free already to them. So having the Bible in the classroom, I'm afraid, is really a signal to the teachers that probably the rule is going to be the Bible must be in sight of the teacher's desk as a reminder of who is in control. It's important to know about the Bible. Our education director, Tim Atkins, connected our congregation last spring to a course on the Bible from that big UU church down in Dallas, sort of the Dallas UU Church of Nichols Hills in Dallas. So they had the budget to be able to do this nationwide education program, and Tim got us connected to the series of webinars. And so what was interesting about it was there were UUs participating from all across the country. So the half dozen or so of us here heard from all over the country. The title of the course was called Bible Literacy for UUs. But what it really turned into was how to talk to people who take the Bible literally. Well, selectively, but literally. How do you talk to those folks? How do you have enough Bible history to talk with them and make some points? And what was intriguing to me is, in talking about the Bible, how the Bible was put together, that means early Christianity, before Christianity was dominant. How did it get there? How did it get to the point where nearly everywhere the calendar counts from one guy's date? That we all use 2025? How did that get into place? So how did Christianity grow and become linked with political or military structures? I think we all heard in our Bible history about the Council of Nicaea coming together and deciding what would be in the Bible. And I learned that the Council of Nicaea was sponsored by the Emperor Constantine. He was putting together his Eastern and his Western worlds to be emperor of both. And so part of making things consistent when you're an emperor is to let's also sew up all any of these little religious differences between Eastern and Western. So the Council of Nicaea happened with the emperor paying for it and it meeting in one of the emperor's summer castles in Nicaea. So that's how linked early Christianity was with the power structures there. For us here in Oklahoma, the government has said that there's only one Bible, the King James Version. And I talked to folks about that, and they say, oh, well, of course, the King James Version, because in the Bible there's King David, there's King Solomon, and, King James, right? And of course, we know King James was King of England, and so connecting it with American history and the American Revolution, maybe the good lesson for kids is here we were at war with England, we were rebelling against the King of England, but we still respected the Bible from King of England. And so I think the good lesson in the social studies standards for kids would be, that's how America started, by respecting the religious documents of other countries, let's follow that path and look at all of our foreign wars and show how America respected the religious books of the other countries we were at war with over time, no matter where in the world we were at war. So I've got to say it's been a very sad and scary past couple of years as part of a minority religion, and a very scary past 6 months. I worry about turning on the TVs one morning and seeing all of our wonderful news helicopters up in the air following tanks coming down big wide Classen Boulevard. I worry about our storm chasers having to follow government vehicles going to non-Christian churches, watching out for any churches that don't have a big cross and a bigger U.S. flag out front. Those are things that are scary. And in these times, we must hold on to our Unitarian faith. Not just the thoughts and teachings, but our lives and our interaction with our beloved community. And Unitarianism asks for a lot. It's not just one path or one thing inside you. It has to do with the relationships in our lives. As a minority religion, you need to carry your faith in your own heart and live according to the ideals you set for yourself and still act in accordance with your ideals. Maybe quietly, but still act. Thank you. It's time to extinguish the chalice, and then the postlude will prepare us for cake. There's, you'll see there, because of the inherent duality of things, the great philosophers talk about dualities, our great theologians talk about dualities, so there are two cakes. There's a sweet, gooey chocolate cake for the kids, and there is a relatively healthy adult carrot cake there also. But being good Unitarians, we can have a piece of each.
Do I have, oh. We extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of love and community, which burns in our hearts.
And as we go, the music that again Stephen and Becky have chosen so wittily for us, this closing tune is from the musical Pippin. And it is about the main character, the prince of privilege, and his lament that the world doesn't go perfectly for him, and how he becomes to learn that he has to adapt and be part of the world of every people. Blessed be and let them eat cake.